Hi, this is Heather Picken, and welcome to the Woman on Fire Entrepreneur Podcast. How to break through anything, become unstoppable, and be profitable. Learn how to align your mind. Yeah, I call that activating your money mojo. Market to your ideal clients and make money doing what you love. Tired of struggling and trying to figure things out? Do you tend to stop when things get tough? Well, I'm here to steer the ship out of the sea of overwhelm so that you can attract money and success in your business now. Grab your favorite beverage, let's fire it up, get inspired, and live life at your highest potential. Here's Heather with her co-host Chihuahua, Frankie Lee. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Woman on Fire Entrepreneur Show, now broadcasting on iTunes. So if you're listening to us over here, hello. And you can also go over to youtube.com/Heather Picken and watch us on the video, which I always think is exciting. And another thing that's always exciting is bringing you influencers and guests around the world, sharing their expertise about getting your message out there. You're on a mission, you're on fire, but the problem is, how do you get out there in a bigger way? Well, my guest today, Tracy Repchuk, is going to share with you how to get your message out there to millions, not one, not two, not three people, but millions of people. So Tracy, thank you so much for being my guest today.
I'm super stoked, Heather. I'd love to be sharing this with everybody.
And it is such a powerful message. And before we kind of dive into the topic today, I was wondering if you could share with our listeners and viewers that are not familiar with your work a little bit of background about who you are and what you do.
Sure. Well, I started a software company at the age of 19 when I graduated with a degree in IT. Fast forward to 1994 when the internet emerged. I started on the internet at that point. And then now what I do is I help to fully brand and create an online presence for people so that you can really kind of raise your credibility, become the authority, look as good online as you do off, rise above the competition, and more importantly, reach millions with your message.
I absolutely love that, Tracy. And, I want to talk about today and, you being a pioneer of technology. I mean, being, at 19 years of age and getting your hands in there. It's just interesting to see how technology has changed the world and how we market and every aspect of our life. So here's the problem that I see, and hopefully you can help our watchers and our listeners. How do you overcome the technical overwhelm with all the different media platforms and getting yourself out there and really getting yourself out there to millions of people?
Yeah, I mean, here's the easy answer to that. I have spent my entire life online and kind of in technology. Again, when I was a software developer, I was one of the first women. And then internet marketing for 5 years, I was like one of the only women on the stage for the World Internet Summit. And so I love to live, eat, and breathe this. But here's the thing. I spend at least 2 hours a day just learning the new technologies. Social media platforms come out like, water dripping from the sky type of thing. And it is going to lead to complete and utter overwhelm for most people. And so here's the easy answer. You really shouldn't be doing it. Should you understand it? Should you kind of know? Yes. But should you be getting into WordPress and setting up your website? Should you be developing your logo and coming up with your brand identity? And then should you be spending all of your time with the misunderstanding on social media and not really where you should be? And so that's why kind of strategists or bringing people into your life that can handle all the technology and the moving parts is a really great thing, because everybody comes in with their genius. And if your genius isn't this, please focus on what you're great at and let somebody help you.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, because a lot of times people can get in that overwhelm and they're doing a lot of things but not getting any traction. At the end of the day, you've got to make sales. If you want to make an impact, you want to make a dent in the world, you've got to generate sales and you've got to get your message out there. Well, I'm just kind of curious, what are your platforms that you like to broadcast on social media? Like, what do you find to be the most successful? And I would imagine that is different for different industries, depending on where people are hanging out.
Exactly. And that's the key element right there, is if your audience isn't on Facebook, stop spending so much time on Facebook. If they're not on Twitter, don't be over there. Really hone in on the social media platform that your target market is. And where they're hanging out. And that's one of the key elements, is a lot of times companies or people don't even know who their target market is. If you have skipped that step, which is one of the very first steps that I have in every analysis that I do, if you skip that, honestly, after that, it collapses. So you can't identify your keywords. You can't identify your market. Then you don't know your social media platform. Then you don't know your message. Then you don't know your pain points. And so all of these things are kind of linearly held together by that one piece. So let's say you're a professional. You should be on LinkedIn then. Okay, chiropractor, real estate, anyone serving kind of a B2B audience. Hone in on that and really get your skill set going so that you can attract your customers. If you're a speaker, I've been picked up through LinkedIn. I mean, I just got back from places like Brazil and China simply because they found me on LinkedIn. That's the power of that platform. Now, I use Facebook for relationship building. Very key. I have a private client community. We meet every single day. So use the technology for how it fits into your platform. Now, for Twitter, I actually love Twitter for fast blast outs, but more importantly, I use a lot of niche research in Twitter to find my target market, connect with them, and then move them into, of course, my funnel.
I love that. So it's really about having the right platform, and let's also talk about the right messaging. So if someone wants to be an influencer, they want to create a big impact. One of the problems that I find is that there's a lot of kind of sameness in industries. And so the big question is, how do you really stand out? So what are some of the tips and strategies that you can help our listeners and viewers right now?
Yeah, so how do you resolve that? It really comes down to properly branding yourself. Historically, Kraft and McDonald's and Coca-Cola, those were brands, right? Because television allowed them to push their brand forward, and they were the ones that could afford it. With the internet now, it's a level playing field. Branding is critical for everybody. So as part of the branding comes what's called a unique selling proposition. What makes you you? Why should I pick you over the competition? It really takes a very clear establishment of why your unique selling proposition, and then what do you do for somebody? What's that one sentence that you could say to somebody to where their next sentence is, I need that, tell me more. Then you've got your message and your unique selling proposition in order to grab their attention. The two of those two things together create this ability to be heard above the noise. Without that, you're whitewashed on the internet.
Yeah, I think that's some great advice, Tracy, because a lot of people, they're just kind of, getting sunk, below everyone else, and they're having issues. And, I think another big issue, and I'm sure you agree with this, is the mindset. Like, what do you find is the mindset that it takes in order to be an influencer, to put yourself out there, especially in today's world with all of the technology changing, things are just, moving faster. So what would you say to those people?
Yeah. So, to be an influencer, to play what I call the big game, right? Takes an incredible mindset adjustment, because there's a huge risk that comes with that. When you're playing the bigger game, and like yourself, right? We get out there, we're front and center all the time. That can be, people can, attack, they can go against what you say, there's so much that can happen to you as a person or a company when you put yourself out there and when you take a stand against something. Like, I literally went to China and talked about the social consciousness of technology in a country where they do not have Google, they don't have Twitter, they don't have Facebook, they don't have any of those elements. And that was a huge risk. And that's what it takes to become an influencer, is to take a stand, to hopefully everything that you're doing is for a bigger picture, a bigger reason, a bigger mission than yourself, like, making the world a better place. That's what I'm trying to do. That's what you're trying to do. And with that comes the risk. And of course, technology is just our way of getting out there. How do we reach millions nowadays, right? It's the internet, it's social media, it's books, it's speaking around the world. I've spoken in 39 countries now, and it's really television. There's 4 entities that if you can leverage any of those, that's how you're going to reach millions.
I love that. And it's something that people should really be thinking about is, not to be afraid to put yourself out there. I call those people the trailblazers, those people that are willing to risk, what they believe in and say that, because a lot of times you get people that are starting a business and they don't want to be seen. And I'm here to tell you, you have to be able to take the criticism, because there'll be, especially with the internet now, anyone can say anything about you. And, really stand for, like you were saying, going to China, taking the risk and letting people know, like, listen, this is really what I'm all about. This is my movement. This is what I'm passionate about. And I think that is really going to make a difference. So I really appreciate that about the mindset. I really find, Tracy, and I don't know if you feel the same way, but I really believe that the mindset will dictate every single thing in your business, when you're building your brand, when you're creating the strategy, and when you're investing in yourself. Because let's face it, it's not cheap to invest in a coach, like you or myself, to get the kind of results that people are looking for.
Exactly. And that is a huge mindset. And here's where I got to easily overcome that. When I started my company in 1985, all we had was the yellow pages and magazines, right? So in order to be seen, heard, found, exist, it was costing me anywhere from $10,000 to $15,000 a month in an advertising budget. Nowadays, because of the internet, people think advertising's free. And so they can come in with a really low risk tolerance. Whereas kind of entrepreneurialism takes investment, it takes risk. I mean, how many times have we maxed credit cards in the history of our companies? I have literally, gone anywhere from $25,000 to $100,000 for one mentor. And you've got to believe in your mission and in yourself, so much so that becomes certainly just a part of doing business. And I'm not saying to people, hey, go mortgage your home or do anything crazy. But what I'm saying is, connecting with the right mentor, paying what you need to pay and what is outside of your comfort zone, not buying so much shelf help, but really focusing more on who can deliver what I need as a solid movement piece in my business. That's really what's going to get you to a position of what I call being prepared for your Oprah moment. And that means having the pieces in place that if Oprah called, or if you got that speaking gig, or if anything happened that you've been dreaming about, you have the foundation to support that moment. And that is going to take setting up really before sometimes you've even made money.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I just want to reinforce that you've got to invest in yourself. If, especially if you have a lofty vision and mission of getting your message out there to millions, it's going to take sweat equity and it's going to take investment in. And I truly believe that everyone has the money for what they value. It's like wherever you're spending your money, it's what you value. So if you're spending more of your money on consumables, things that are not going to be investment in your business, just know that that's a value that you have. In order to shift it, you must have a value on wealth building, on business building, to have those extra things. But I think most people have the wrong mindset and they say, well, I don't have the money. Where I remember I think it was in 2008, when the stock market crashed, that I was in an Apple store and I'm thinking, okay, this is one of, another so-called bad time in our economy. And people were whipping out their credit cards to pay for these Apple products. As you know, they're high-end products. So there you go.
Yeah, and that's a great point to bring up and that goes back to the value. What do you value in you, right? And here's the other thing that happens too. A lot of people interpret success with your big fancy house, your really pretty car, and all of these other elements, right? Well, success comes often later when you're building your business. All of that money that would maybe go into what we're calling maybe materials or consumables of that nature, that has to be put aside. And you really have to focus in on, I need to build the foundation of my business. I need to do whatever it's going to take. And then will come success, and then will come extra money. And then with that extra money, I can buy the house and the cars and the vacations and things like that. But man, when I started my company way back when, there was tons of sweat equity, tons of risk, tons of terror and fear moments where you're like, holy crap, how am I going to make payroll? At one time I had 15 staff, and man, when you start to have a high level of staff, you start to have other people dependent on you. And so because the entry to most companies nowadays to being online is so small, it takes a shift in the mindset of if you are an entrepreneur, you got to invest in you. You got to put the sweat equity, you got to put in the time, and then comes the rewards.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And, Tracy, what would you say to someone that is either, actually two different levels, maybe someone that's starting out, what should they do if they want to get their message out there? Because what you don't want to do, in my opinion, is create a fantasy and think overnight, you're going to have millions of followers, although that could happen if you're on a big TV show. And then you've got the other level of those people that have had some success, but they're just not there. They need that push to get them to the next level. So what are the two different strategies that you would use in those cases?
So in the first strategy, when someone's just starting out, we focus in on product development and service. What is the highest the highest service or product you could deliver, so that we can put our entire strategy into focusing on selling that. So there's the kind of the beginning. And then so the website is kind of built around that and that element without going crazy, right? When you're established, here's what usually happens. You have so many moving parts now that are disconnected, and they actually aren't streamlined in a way that is working for you. And you have, again, so many moving parts that perhaps you have product lines or services that are detrimental to your brand and your time. And so it takes a whole revamp. So that person is at the position of, kind of a reassessment, a relaunch, and a strategy to where let's focus in on three major things that you have and blow those out. And then we can, take a look at making sure that when one thing is making money and it's now put in an automated process, now we can add the next revenue stream. Because I'll never forget, in the beginning, we were taught, oh, you fill all of these revenue stream bubbles and everything's great, kind of multiple streams of income, right? The problem with that is we don't, as a person, have the bandwidth to handle multiple streams of income until one of those is automated. And people are forgetting the automation step after they start to make money before they move to the next revenue stream.
I love that. Yeah. And I love what you're saying. Automation is key once you get your business going and going to the next level. And then if you're more of a beginner, then you got to focus on what I call your genius zone, being able to package and market that and not make it overly complicated, because I think that's what people tend to do.
They do.
And so, Tracy, what do you find, I'm just looking out, technology is growing, and, I'm looking at some of these industries and how things will really change. So do you, in your opinion, do you feel that there's going to be like a less need for coaches and consultants and different types of industries based on AI, artificial intelligence? It's kind of scary what computers can do now.
Right. I see the need for coaches, mentors, consultants, advisors, strategists to grow. Here's why. AI is only as great as what you pre-programmed into it, okay? And AI can't see all the 360-degree view that a human has. It just it just hasn't got that. Plus, you can't integrate the experience. Like, I've had 31 years of marketing and branding and internet and technology. There's something that pulls that all together. And then here's the biggest thing that AI can't do. We are spiritual beings, okay? We all came in with a bigger purpose, a bigger function. So as much strategy or lineage that they can put out there, the piece they're going to miss is, what about the mission-based element that we need to incorporate as a humanity, right? So making the world a better place, all of these elements that we need to integrate into our strategies often will get missed. And that's simply because it is what it is. They've been talking about AI since 1970. I remember it, and it's just crazy. And yes, it's going to help in so many ways. Obviously, in the entertainment industry, it's really cool. There's a lot of things that can happen. In industries where you are like almost push buttony, right? You do this, nothing needs to change. It's great. But for us, I think we're at a state now where we're just going to leverage technology, not let it own us. And that's the breakout moment, I think.
I love that, Tracy. And as you're talking, I'm thinking, like, if I was like fast forward, 10, 15 years from now, and let's just say they come up with an AI coach and you're like, I'm having a freak out moment. Sorry, I'm having a freak out moment.
Yeah.
Just calm down, Heather. Relax.
Yeah.
I'd be like, screw you, sorry.
I was thinking, sorry. I mean, how many times, you say something to her and she just don't have it. And that can lead to like a human meltdown at that point. So think about how life would be like if you had to push 0 for this and 5 for this. How much do we actually dislike the non-interaction, human interaction, and how long it takes? If we got somebody on the phone for something we needed, boom, done. Okay, it's moving forward. And so it really comes down to, I think, to quality of life. We're moving into a position now where we are reaching for each other, people, more, and moving. Yes, technology is coming into our lives in a bigger way, but I think just as the message, as the streamline, as the medium for the message, as Marshall McLuhan kind of used to say, right?
Yeah.
And all it is, it's the distribution network that we're going to use, because I believe right now we're at a point in history where we have never been before. That's the ability to get positive messaging out and to overcome the stranglehold that TV networks have had over us for just news and doom and gloom, right? Right now, social media, the internet, we can literally change everything, and we have been. If you take a look at holistic practitioners, at spirituality, at the fact that more of us are binding together in communities to make the world a better place, that's where we're moving, and we're just using all of this as our tool.
I love that, Tracy. It's such a message for hope for other people out there that have a mission and purpose just like us. So if you're watching, you got to keep growing and going with that technology. Embrace it and do yourself a favor. Find a coach, find a mentor that can help you, because that, my friend, is the fastest path to growth. I guarantee it. So Tracy, before we go today, this has been absolutely fantastic. I always love chatting with you. And where can people learn more about you and your work? I know we're going to put this, it's in the show notes, but if you could share that with our viewers and listeners today.
Awesome. Well, if you go to fastactionresults.com, it gets you connected to me. I've got a free gift there for you, how your brand websites and social media work together for you. And then, we can start to build a relationship, connect with me then on my social media platforms. And I so look forward to, getting to know your followers and listeners.
I love that, Tracy. Well, thank you so much again for being my guest today.
Thanks, Heather.
And I just want to thank everyone that's listening and watching. Please do me a big favor. Please rate and review and subscribe to the show on iTunes, and also do it on YouTube as well. Until next time, this is Heather Picken. Be on fire, inspired with your mission and purpose, and go get them. Take care. So if you found this show to be helpful, please hashtag WOFE, that stands for Woman on Fire Entrepreneur, and subscribe to this show in iTunes and leave me a review. I want to know how these shows have helped you. I also want to know the number one thing that you're struggling with the most in your business. Every week, I give away complimentary sessions to help you get it clear on your next steps and to activate your money mojo. You can learn more about my work if you go to www.heatherpicken.com.